For more, CBSN political contributor Michael Graham is in Boston. He's also a columnist for the Boston Herald and politics editor at nhjournal.com. Hey, Michael, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So we've seen an outpouring of support from both sides of the aisle for John McCain. Why hasn't the president commented on Senator McCain?
Well, there was that personal tiff that they had, obviously, during the campaign when President Trump said he preferred his heroes who didn't get captured. And so they have that long-standing personal issue. But also, the talk radio base that makes up Trump's core has always had a problematic relationship with John McCain. He's kind of the poster child for the Republican establishment, and he's kind of viewed as the Republican who loves bashing other Republicans, particularly conservatives. And so there's, like, for example, recall in 2008 that McCain had a really difficult time getting the Republican base behind his candidacy until he added Sarah Palin, who was viewed as, a red meat conservative on board. And so I think Trump is reflecting the antipathy that his base has on the issue of Senator McCain. Obviously, no one wants to see him in ill health. Everyone wants him to live long and prosper. But from a political standpoint, he's not considered a friend of the kind of people that got Donald Trump the nomination.
That makes so much sense in the sense that I was looking at this Fox News poll that showed that 60% of Democrats say that they have a favorable view of John McCain. But when you look at the Republican Party, only 41% favorable, 48% unfavorable.
Yeah, when for a long time in my political columns, I referred to John McCain as our New York Times editorial page because he seemed to be working very hard to get the approval of the media and people on the left. And the argument from the right, and one of the things that got Trump elected is, as you heard in his diatribe just then, there is no peace. It's got to be war. And John McCain was viewed more as a guy who would, cooperate, reach across the aisle. And, there's a tradition for that, certainly. But as you can see, that doesn't seem to be the mood on either side of the aisle the last few years.
And Michael, there's meanwhile members of the president's own inner circle. They've begun to cooperate with the federal prosecutors. This comes after the president told Fox News that flipping should be illegal. Is there a sense that Republicans around the president worry, or just Republicans in general worry, that the president could lash out and do something that might take the wind out of the sails going into midterms?
Every morning, Republicans wake up worried that he's going to, but that's how they wake up. One point of clarification, though. Trump said it should almost be illegal, which I just want to get that out there. But it's still, in my opinion, an irresponsible thing for the chief executive officer, the -- 1 law enforcement officer, to say. These tweets about how his attorney general should do his job in an investigation that involves him, it's so counterproductive. It's hard to see a way forward. And this entire conversation, of course, takes away from what Republicans want to talk about, which is the economy. A new report out that we may see 4.8% growth in the next number, which would be coming out just on the eve of the midterms. It would be great news. But who's going to be talking about growth rates and job rates when you can talk about Playboy bunnies and hush money and allegations of love children, whatever? This is not where Republicans want to be.
What do you think is the worst thing that the president could do at this point that would alienate his base? It doesn't seem like there's much that he can do that can alienate his base when you look at it.
Well, he's done a good job, and I will also say that there is some truth behind the idea that there is the kind of, to use the phrase the establishment, just as a shorthand, it's not perfectly accurate, has been out to get him from the beginning. They didn't want him to win the election. They've tried to delegitimize him from the beginning. And those actions feed the ability of Trump supporters to say it's all part of a conspiracy. Well, no, it's not all. The president has actually done things. He really did pay at least 2 women to be quiet. He really did apparently work with the National Enquirer to kill these stories. He really did say completely different things about that money, and on and on and on we can go with. But the thing that lets Trump people stick with Trump, the argument I've heard so much the last 48 hours is all of this is before he was president. Nothing that Robert Mueller has indicted anyone on or anything has anything to do with Trump as president. The stuff on Manafort was years before he was president. The Cohen, the payments were during the campaign. They're not about him being president. And I think that's going to be the wall. As long as Trump supporters can keep the bad behavior out of the presidency and have that defense, I think you'll see a lot of them stick. If something comes out that as president, he did what Bill Clinton did, lied under oath as president to try to stop a legitimate lawsuit from going forward, then I think you might see the ground shift. Then again, who knows? I mean, I've been so stunned by this president. I've stopped making serious predictions. I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah, it is hard to sort of predict any of this. I do want to ask you, though, go back to the president continually publicly attacking Jeff Sessions. You know, do you think we're going to see Republicans rally around their former colleagues, or are they backing away?
I think what you're going to see is more of what Senator Collins of Maine and Senator Sass of Nebraska have done, which is to warn the president, firing Jeff Sessions is a bridge too far, and we're not going to stick with you. And the Senate is so tight, 51-49, and with Senator McCain not even able to vote, it's even tighter, that he can't afford to lose anybody. He couldn't get a new attorney general now if he wanted one, so that's where we are. The buzz that I'm hearing from, you know, people on the right who aren't fans of Trump but trying to figure out how to go forward is that after the midterms, maybe Jeff Sessions will decide it's time for him to move on, and he'll solve this problem by resigning. It's very probable that Republicans will have an additional senator or two after the midterms, even though they're almost certain to lose the House. And so that might give the Republicans and Trump more room to get someone in who can get the votes and replace Sessions if he chooses to leave.
You know, all of this is renewing talk about impeachment. You write about this in your upcoming column. What's your take on all of it?
There's this big buzz from Democrats. We don't want to talk about impeachment. That's not for now. You know, Nancy Pelosi, Dick Durbin, they're all saying don't talk about impeachment. Look, if the Democrats win a majority in the House, they're going to try impeachment. And the reason they're going to really doesn't even have to do with what the individual congressional people want. They have sold this to their base, just as Republicans sold killing Obamacare to their base, and then they were forced to have a failed vote. The base was demanding it because they told them for 7 years we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. The Democratic leadership that has whipped up this idea that the Trump presidency isn't just we don't like him or he's wrong or partisan, but rather he shouldn't be president. It's illegitimate. They're going to have unleashed forces that they cannot control. It is not up to Nancy Pelosi, assuming she's Speaker, or whoever the Democrats choose as Speaker. If they get a majority, they will impeach because they won't have any choice.
Michael Graham, so grateful you could join us, Michael.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.